I came to Turkmenistan chasing a story. The Darvaza Gas Crater, a massive flaming pit in the middle of the Karakum Desert, had been burning for decades. An accident turned into a scientific marvel. The locals whispered about it in hushed tones, calling it the door to hell. I didn't believe in legends. I was here for facts. Armed with my camera and notebook, I never stood a chance. Welcome to Sterling Short Stories. Step inside the story, but only if you dare. My name is Michael Carter, and I've always been a freelance journalist chasing the next big mystery. My latest obsession, the Darvaza Gas Crater, better known as the Door to Hell. It's a fiery pit that's been burning for over 50 years, but what drew me in weren't just the flames. It was the rumors, disappearances, unnatural whispers in the wind, even sightings of shadowy figures moving within the fire. So, when an anonymous invitation landed in my inbox, offering an all-expenses-paid trip to Turkmenistan with exclusive after-dark access to the crater, how could I refuse? The invitation was signed simply, "Come see the truth beneath the fire." I wasn't the type to scare easily. I'd explored haunted asylums, spelunked deep caves, and ventured into war-torn ruins, a burning pit in the middle of a desert. It sounded like a walk in the park. I packed my cameras, my drone, and enough adrenaline to keep me awake for days. What I didn't know was that this would be my final assignment. When I arrived in Ashgabat, Turkmenistan, a rugged guide named Rashid greeted me at the airport. He had a weathered face, his eyes shadowed by something I couldn't quite place. Unease? Maybe? "You are here for the crater?" he asked in a thick accent. "Yeah, the door to hell. Have you been there?" I replied, eager. His expression darkened. "The crater is cursed. It is not for men to disturb." I laughed. "Come on. It's just burning gas. Scientists tried to put it out years ago, but it kept going. That's not a curse, just physics." He didn't laugh. Instead, he muttered under his breath, "You will see." That night, we drove 6 hours deep into the Karakum Desert. The sand stretched endlessly in all directions, illuminated by the pale glow of the moon. The silence was absolute, broken only by the hum of Rashid's truck. When we finally arrived, the heat hit me like a wall. Even from hundreds of feet away, I could feel the intense waves radiating from the crater. The flames were mesmerizing, a swirling inferno of orange and red, licking at the blackened rock. It was hypnotic. I set up my camera and edged closer, ignoring Rashid's uneasy glances. "You should not stay past midnight," Rashid warned. "That is when they come." "Who?" I asked, raising an eyebrow. "The ones beneath," I smirked. Another local ghost story, perfect for my article. I turned my attention back to the crater and lowered my drone, preparing to capture footage from inside the flames. As the drone descended, I watched the live feed on my screen. The flames moved strangely, almost as if something was lurking beneath them, waiting. And then, a shape appeared. At first it was just a shadow, but as I focused the camera, it became clearer. A face, twisted, blackened, its mouth frozen in a silent scream. Empty eye sockets stared directly into the camera. No, into me. I stumbled back, nearly dropping the controller. "It's a trick of the fire," I muttered, though my hands were trembling. I glanced at Rashid, who refused to look at the screen. Then, the whispers began. Faint at first, like the wind brushing against the sand, but they grew louder, distinct. Words formed in a voice that wasn't human. "Come down, join us, we remember you." My blood turned to ice. "Did you hear that?" I asked Rashid. His face was pale. "I told you, we leave now." But I couldn't look away. Adjusting the drone's thermal camera, I tried to make sense of what I was seeing. The display flickered, then glitched, and suddenly, the flames parted. Beneath the fire, I saw something that shouldn't have been there. A massive, ancient door, black stone, etched with glowing red symbols that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. The whispers grew deafening. "You belong to us. You were here before. You will return." I stumbled back, my heart pounding. "Rashid, what is this?" "It is the gate," he said, his voice shaking. "Gate to what?" Rashid hesitated, his gaze fixed on the flames. "The world before this one." The wind howled, the ground beneath me trembled, and the crater rumbled. My drone's feed cut out completely. And from the center of the flames something began to rise. A hand, not human. Charred, gigantic, clawed. I stood frozen, my mind breaking as realization dawned. The door to hell was never just a gas crater. It was a seal, and something on the other side had been waiting to be freed. I don't remember running. My legs moved on their own, stumbling over loose stones and uneven sand as the roars from the crater chased me. The air was thick with heat and smoke, searing my throat with every breath. Somehow, I made it back to Rashid's truck, my chest heaving as I collapsed against the door. Rashid's face was ashen, his hands trembling as he fumbled to start the engine. The truck roared to life and he drove like a madman, the tires kicking up plumes of sand behind us. He muttered prayers in a language I didn't understand, his voice growing louder as the whispers outside intensified. They weren't just whispers anymore, they were screams rising and falling like a terrible chant. The truck jolted violently, nearly veering off the narrow path as the ground beneath us trembled. The heat didn't fade. It followed us, an oppressive wave pressing against the windows. When I dared to glance back, I saw it, a shadow massive and clawed, illuminated by the hellish glow of the crater. It didn't walk. It loomed stretching across the desert, as if it could consume us whole. Rashid's prayers turned into cries. The whispers clawed at the edges of my mind, their words slipping through cracks in my sanity. My vision blurred, the desert spinning around me. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the noise stopped. The whispers faded into a heavy, unnatural silence. The heat ebbed, and the shadow was gone. Or so we thought. The truck never made it far. The ground heaved violently beneath us, a wave of force that sent the vehicle skidding off the narrow desert path. Rashid fought to keep control, but the steering wheel jerked wildly in his grip. The tires screamed as they lost traction, and the truck flipped, tumbling violently across the sand. I was thrown from the cab, landing hard on my back. Pain shot through me, but the adrenaline coursing through my veins forced me to move. Dazed, I crawled toward the wreckage, calling out for Rashid. Smoke curled from the mangled engine, and the faint glow of flames reflected off shattered glass. "Rashid," I screamed. But the only answer was the whispers, now louder than ever. They surrounded me, overlapping voices clawing at my mind. The heat returned, oppressive and all-encompassing, and I turned toward the crater. A massive shadow loomed, rising from the fiery depths. It moved with deliberate purpose, each step reverberating through the trembling earth. My breath hitched as I saw its eyes, burning embers set deep in a charred, monstrous face. Its claws reached out, impossibly long, and with one fluid motion, it snatched the wrecked truck. Rashid's screams cut through the air, only to be swallowed by the cacophony of whispers. I stumbled backward, my legs weak and trembling. The shadow turned its gaze on me, and I froze, unable to look away. The whispers crescendoed, forming words that echoed in my skull. "You cannot leave." Weeks later, the Turkmenistan government announced that a foreign journalist had gone missing near the Darvaza crater. No body, no camera, no drone. They later tried to cover it up, and the official report simply stated, "The journalist never arrived." But I did arrive, and I never left. I was once a naive journalist, and now I am the rumor I once dismissed, haunting the flames I dared to uncover. Now somewhere deep in the flames of the crater, if you listen closely you can still hear the whispers, and sometimes at night, people swear they see a figure standing in the inferno. A figure that looks just like me, and my eyes. They burn with the inferno's fury, a constant reminder of what lies beneath. If you ever find yourself standing at the edge of the gate to hell, turn back, the heat will pull you in. The fire will whisper your name, and the ground beneath your feet will not be as solid as it seems. I came here searching for a story. Instead, I became part of it, and if you're reading this, it might already be too late for me, but it might not be for you. Please subscribe to Sterling Short Stories on YouTube, but only if you dare.